In today's video, we will be exploring the Rambo Mandela Effect. Not to shut it down or disprove it in any way, but to go down different avenues and explore different possibilities. The Scarab crew did an excellent job with the Rambo Mandela Effect. Thank you. Hello everybody, Hebro77 here, and I've got a Mandela Effect for you, but it's not what you think. Now, Scare Performance on his Mandela Monday show, it was Scare Performance along with Sandy Diva and good old Fizzy Pop, covered what they called a Mandela Effect, which was the title of the movie Rambo Mandela Effect. Now, the Rambo movies have kind of a long and convoluted history. As a matter of fact, James the Nintendo Nerd made a couple videos about this, as he likes to make videos about how movies sort of contradict their chronological orders.
Somehow completely changed its title.
Okay, here we go.
First one was called First Blood. That's it. First Blood. The second one was called Rambo, First Blood Part 2. And then the third one was called Rambo 3. So what, they just forgot about First Blood? Fuck 'em. The correct title would be...
There you go. Okay, there's part of that. I'm not going to show the whole thing because I don't want to get a copyright strike or anything of that nature, because this is sort of like, you know, his thing. He is sort of like a huge, not only just YouTuber, but just a internet dude in general. But I do want to give credit to the Angry Video Game Nerd, or James Roth in general, for sharing that with us. So I could go on and talk about movie Rambo titles. But the true Mandela Effect does not lie within the Rambo movie titles. But that is the subject that they were talking about on Mandela Monday. Check it out.
All right. I don't remember Rambo and Rambo First Blood, but I'm 100% sure the title of the movie included Rambo. Stallone. This time he's fighting for his life. First Blood. No, it was Rambo First Blood.
Oh, so now it's just called First Blood.
Yeah, it's just called
Weird.
First Blood.
No, this is not weird. This is exactly how it is. Now, I will give them credit. They have come up with some pretty cool residue. But the residue they come up with is from other countries. And I think those other countries, the residue they find is from DVD title releases. When you do a DVD title release, this is a Blu-ray release. And when you do Blu-ray releases, of course, they change the titles in different countries. And since the name Rambo stuck and it became popular, they did change the name for the DVD release and the name for the Blu-ray release in other countries. Now this is here. What's strange is that the loss of Rambo from the title only seems to affect the American release. No, that's not true. As a matter of fact, if you look up movie posters from other countries with posters from America, now this is a movie poster from another country and it does say Rambo on it. Now that it is interesting. Okay, so they did find some interesting residue. So I will not fault them for that. Sylvester Stallone, Rambo. I wonder, though, if these movie posters were made after the fact. They're in Japanese. I'm not sure what it says. This is probably from America. That's probably from America. I'm not sure. This is from another. This is actually from America. It says Rambo on it. Well, that's interesting. And this is obviously from First Blood. So there is some interesting facts to back up their claims of a Mandela effect, which I find interesting. However, from my perspective, it's always been the original title has always been First Blood. And that is some good residue. And they do have good residue. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this video is not to disprove any Mandela effect claims. I think it is a Mandela effect in a way, but not to me, it isn't. To me, it just seems like movie posters popped up after the movie was playing here in the States. Or, I mean, in other countries, the movie played before it hit the States and they knew the name Rambo and they made those posters up after the fact. That's what would make sense to me, because here in the States, it was just known as First Blood. And plus, you got to remember another, back then there was no such thing as the internet, but I'm sure they had like behind the scenes, or maybe someone got a hold of the script and saw the character's Rambo name in the script, or it's very possible they could have read First Blood, the book. You see, there was a book out called First Blood, and now I'm going to show you the book. First Blood by David Morrell. And as you can see here, the character John Rambo and how he came about. If anyone bothered to see the commentary on any of the Rambo movies, David Morrell, who was in the commentary, had mentioned that when he was writing the book, he had already had the name John. But I think in his version of the book, he didn't have the last name Rambo. He didn't have that name yet. And he couldn't come up with the name. He just couldn't come up with it. He was stuck. He had writer's block. And while he was suffering from writer's block, his wife had come home one day with a basket full of apples. Now, this is where we're going to get into the Mandela Effect version of this movie. This is another Mandela Effect. This is my Mandela Effect for this movie. So while his wife came home with the apples, and she said, honey, you've got to try these apples. They're amazing. And he said, well, I'm really not into apples that much, but I'll give it a try. So he tries one of the apples and he goes, holy cow, these are some really good apples. He goes, what kind of apples are these? And she goes, those are Rambo apples. And then a light bulb came on and it went cling ding. Ah, Rambo. That's what I'm going to call my character from my book. So anyway, he sent the book in for a screenplay, and then the screenplay was written, and voila. Now, in the original screenplay, John Rambo, was supposed to die. And when they test screened it for the audience reacted very poorly. So they changed the ending for the audience. And also, Stallone was thinking, what if we wanted to do a sequel? Stallone himself, who punched up the script after the first screening, wrote in the ending there where him and Trotman leave, and actually the sheriff was supposed to get killed also, but the sheriff ended up alive at the end of the movie. But it all started from this book, First Blood by David Morrell. So naturally, if that's the name of the book, then it must be the name of the movie. Now, subsequently, after the first movie, Rambo, the name Rambo and the character became so popular that they actually changed the title of the next movie to Rambo First Blood Part 2. Now, this became very confusing to a movie-going audience who, when they saw the original movie, the title was called First Blood. And then when they went and seen the second movie, they're like, what do you mean Rambo First Blood Part 2? And for people that didn't see the First Blood movie, and then they went into the second movie, seeing the title Rambo First Blood Part 2, they're like, what's this First Blood Part 2 business all about? And then by the time they came out with the third movie, the First Blood title was gone. Now, this is all explained by the video game nerd, and all explained by Minty Comedy Arts. Minty himself mentions the different titles of the movies and why the first movie was called First Blood and the consequential movies were called Rambo. So Rambo was only an afterthought that was added to the titles later. Now, by the time you got to the fourth movie, they were going to call it John Rambo. But they decided to not call it John Rambo and just call it Rambo instead. And then the fifth and final film, the movie was titled Rambo Last Blood. So the blood part was brought back in to play. Now, someone said there was different knives in different movies. Well, yes, they used different knives for each movie. The first knife, for an example, was the First Blood knife used for the First Blood movie, which had a brown sheath. Example of the knife that was used in First Blood with the brown sheath. As you can see, it's a very simple knife, but it does have the screw on the bottom, which contains a compass on the end. And when you unscrew the cap, there is fishing line, fishing hook, matches, and even a knife sharpener. The second knife was a specially designed knife just for the second movie, which includes some of the survival elements, as I mentioned. Here's a tube to catch water. Here is your matches, fishing line, this thing here, the compass, and I believe the sharpening stone would have been in the back of the knife sheath here, or knife case, whatever you want to call it. And it came with a black knife sheath this time. And the knife had a black letter handle rather than a green letter handle, which it had in First Blood. For the fourth installment, Rambo used a machete-looking knife. Here, this was the knife used for Rambo 4. Even though it shows a knife sheath there at the bottom, there was no knife sheath used in the movie. But if you go by what the prop master had done here, it looks as though they might have had something planned similar to the same color scheme as the First Blood movie. Here is a certificated Rambo knife from the fourth film, as you can see there. And then the fifth and final film, the knife used in that film, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've seen that film, but I think it was very similar. Well, let's look it up. The knife, I believe, was used for Rambo 5, the final film, Rambo 5, which was named Rambo Last Blood. As you can see, there's no survival equipment attached to the knife whatsoever. It's got a serrated edge here, but not as much so as the other knives. It's got a curved hilt. This is just strictly for killing. I mean, there's no way around it. This is strictly for combat. This is not a survival knife. It is just strictly for combat situations. Close range combat situations, hand-to-hand combat. That's it. So anyway, with all of that being said, let's get back to Rambo apples. Let me look it up here. Rambo apples. A Rambo apple. And here is images of what the Rambo apples look like. They just look like regular apples. I think those are Golden Delicious. I don't think those are Rambos. But here's what they call Rambo apples. They look like, let's see here. Those look like just red apples to me. Apparently the difference is the color and the green with the mixture of red is what makes the difference. I don't know. Let's take a look here. Summer Rambo apple. Let's click that. Okay, you can see many different images here. That looks like a bad apple. Okay, these look like a more yellowish. They almost look like peaches. Rome. Okay, they're showing just different apples. This is Summer Rambo. Now leave a comment down in the comments if you've ever heard of Rambo apples, because I don't think I've ever heard of Rambo apples before. Now that may be just the fact that I don't know my variety of apples. They're showing pictures of Rambo there, of course. But these look just like regular red apples to me. I don't know, maybe shaped a little slightly different. They don't have the same sort of apple shape. That's just a regular apple, red apple. That looks like a tomato. All right. I think we're getting into tomato territory here. The other one looked like a Golden Delicious. Just regular apples. They look like just regular apples. I mean, there's nothing. Doesn't look too special. Anyway, that is my Mandela effect. The Rambo apples. So there you have it. A little brief history on the man, the myth, the legend, the icon, John Rambo. John Rambo. And I strongly urge that anyone who is a Rambo enthusiast, please go check out the book, Rambo First Blood. You could probably get it on audiobook, I'm sure. Maybe on YouTube or on audiobooks, somewhere, audiobooks library, if you have that sort of thing. And again, I'm not shutting down the fact that this may be a Mandela effect. It's just not a Mandela effect for me. And I have several of those. Luke, I Am Your Father, for an example. That's one of them. Looney Tunes, that's another example that doesn't affect me. Oscar Mayer baloney. That's another thing that doesn't affect me. So this is another one of those things that just doesn't affect me. I think there's a logical explanation for it. But who knows? Maybe there's a logical explanation for all Mandela effects. I mean, you could certainly make that case for all of them. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I have known the history and the lore of Rambo ever since I was a little baby, sucking on a pacifier in my crib. You know, I've watched Rambo. I played Rambo. I've acted like Rambo. I've exercised like Rambo. And by the way, Rambo First Blood Part 2 was the Rambo movie where he was hidden in the mud and he came out from the mud and slashed a guy with his knife. It wasn't First Blood. First Blood, he wasn't even in the jungle. He was in the small town in Arkansas. And so, yeah, look up stuff and know your facts before you say stuff. Just saying. No, hey, I'm just busting Dan's balls there for a second. All right. Anyway, until next time, this has been Hebro77 saying, hey, I love the Mandela Effect. I believe in the Mandela Effect, but just for me, this one didn't hit home because I've always remembered First Blood is First Blood and Rambo is Rambo. And also, there was a Rambo cartoon called Rambo Force of Freedom. There was Rambo the video game, which I showed the intro for at the beginning of the show. And you know what? I'm going to close with that. So until next time, remember, take care of yourself and each other. Okay. I'll see y'all next time. Good night, everybody.